This video is sponsored by Extra. Let's start at the beginning. I have no idea what Arcane is, but I see a few people talk about it on social media and it gets me thinking, I wonder what that is. I finally watched the trailer shortly after and oh my god. The trailer had this incredible visual style. It looks like it's been illustrated. Wait. Let's go back even further. I've been an artist my entire life.
When I was a boy,
I was a fan of superheroes, and I drew, and at a point in time, I was a fan of concept art. It's not really my thing, though I'd love to learn how to illustrate like this, but there's a visual style most artists have when doing concept art that's very loose and painterly. A style that looks, well, very stylized. Now, when concept art starts making its way into animation, it stops looking artsy-fartsy and it starts looking smooth. It starts looking more real, it starts to look like the standard of CG. And I'm so happy Arcane came along to essentially reiterate tenfold what I believe Spider-Verse established. CG movies can be as artsy-fartsy as they wanna be. Okay, now before I keep going, I gotta let you all know this video is sponsored by the Extra app. Extra is the first debit card that builds your credit and earns rewards points just like a credit card. All users have to do is connect Extra to their existing bank account and Extra spots them for everyday purchases. My favorite part, you can earn up to 1% in points for everyday purchases like ride shares, coffees, and your phone bills. You can then spend those points on Extra's exclusive reward shop. There's no credit checks and no interest. And look, if you're new to credit or are working towards rebuilding it, this is a great tool. Today, there are over 100 million Americans who don't want or can't get a credit card. Yet there are very few alternatives for establishing your credit other than with a risky credit card. Extra's mission is to make credit building safer and more accessible for everyone. And come on, the card looks sexy as hell. You can use the Extra app to do all this easily and securely. So just go to the link in the description to start building credit with Extra. Remember, there's no credit check, you can't spend more than what you have, and you can earn rewards for simple everyday purchases. Again, check out Extra using the link in the description. So back into it, my appreciation for the visual style of concept art made me appreciate Arcane so much more because it looked like concept art come to life. No smoothing out the imperfections are the perfections. The brush strokes are there on the faces of the characters and they look amazing. Was this the first animated project to ever do this? No, probably not. Was Spider-Verse the first one to do this? No, probably not. But I will say thank God for Spider-Verse, and also thank God for Phil Lord and Chris Miller, directors who dove headfirst into animation, making the Lego Movie a movie that showcased that a movie can look differently from how they usually look, playing with frame rates through character animation, and then pushing that further with Spider-Verse, a movie that looks like a comic book come to life. I think without Spider-Verse and movies like it, studios wouldn't be taking chances at movies or shows like Arcane. That's my personal perspective though, that's how I've been seeing it, and I also think Netflix has been doing a lot of good animation-wise. They've slowly been building up their anime and animation sector. They opened up a studio in Brooklyn, New York, and unless my college is lying to me, they were hiring for animation positions. So Netflix is actively pushing for animation. That doesn't mean they animated the show, though. No, the talented artists at French studio Fortiche produced the show under Riot Games' watch. And this show was meant to release in 2020 but was rescheduled because of obvious reasons. And thankfully, it finally released and it has absolutely blown me away completely. So I went to hang out with my friends one day and my friend Nick was like, "Hey, have you guys seen Arcane?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna check it out." And he was like, "You dumb fuck, watch it right now." And so I did the day after, and that was the best decision I ever made. I watched the entire show in one day. Yup. I actually had to work on YouTube stuff that day, but I just sat down and watched the entire show and I loved every second. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but this is easily one of the greatest animated shows ever made. The way Invincible was probably the best animated show I watched this year, and this overtook that is absolutely mind-boggling. And here's the big thing about me, I love 2D animation. I personally prefer the look of 2D to 3D. There's something about the art feeling illustrated. And so, watching Arcane, my love for 3D animation boomed again. In a way it hadn't really before, since Spider-Verse. There's something about the look of the show, everything looks like it was made to be framed. The colors, the lighting, the characters are modeled brilliantly and they're animated in a way that's realistic but exaggerated when they need to be. It's this perfect blend of 2D and 3D animation complete with 2D smoke and impact frames as well. It's perfect. The show in general, in my opinion, is overall great, but to me it peaks early in episode 3. Episodes 1 to 3 are legitimately one of the greatest works of art I've ever had the pleasure of viewing. It's a tragedy playing out in one of the most visually dynamic and enthralling ways possible. Every scene oozes character and life. The original score is perfectly composed by Alexander Temple and Alex Seaver of Mako, and its haunting melodies perfectly complement the tense voice acting and insane animation of episode 3's climax. One of the most engaging climaxes I've seen in a really long time.
I told you to stay away. I told you to stay away!
By the way, the show always begins with its opening titles, and damn, these opening titles are such a banger, I cannot skip them. And Arcane is incredibly visceral, raw, emotional, violent. I'm actually kind of surprised it isn't TVMA. Like, I get how it's not, but damn, I was more emotionally devastated by this TV-14 show than most TVMA shows. There's a ton of characters in the show, Jace, Victor, Mel, sure, but the heart of the show are Jinx and Vi. I actually think the show should have focused a bit more on Jinx around its latter half, but ultimately what they did with her and how it's handled is absolutely impeccable. Like I said before, the show's first 3 episodes are a tragedy. Vi and Jinx, or should I say Powder at the beginning, have a good relationship which slowly deteriorates due to Powder's constant clumsiness and their friends nagging about how Powder isn't good enough to be out in the field. And while Vi of course doesn't let that get to her, Powder takes it to heart. And everything Vi says, Powder contorts into believing it means that Vi doesn't trust her. And she's a little kid and seems to be extremely wary about being left alone. She wants to be trusted, she wants to be loved. I think the feeling of being abandoned is what really triggers her. And that's what sets her off later on when she spots Vi and Caitlyn together. Caitlyn symbolizes what Jinx detests. And all this is being built up here, when she's a child in this scene. And this scene, listen, this scene is cinema. Have you ever seen animated crying look this visceral and ugly before? I sure haven't, and I think one thing I've always noticed about crying in animation is that the characters look kinda beautified. Cause as you know, crying is ugly. And rigging a 3D model to contort the face to make a character seem like they're crying and making it look authentic and real is extremely hard too. So props to the modelers, riggers, animators, texture artists, everyone, because this is some top tier work and I loved every second. In fact, the characters in the show feel insanely human all the time, from little gestures to full-on emotional beats. And again, it's this perfect blend of realism and fantasy in the visual sense, with visual cues and moments that can't be achieved in live action. And if they are, well, they just won't look as good because certain things don't translate well. And that's the power of animation. One of the coolest ways the show utilizes animation to its fullest potential is in scenes where it showcases Jinx's panic attacks, her inner turmoil and thought process. The Echo and Jinx action sequence is actual cinema, and so are the plenty of other action sequences in the show. The moment I heard a season 2 was coming, I freaked out because I just cannot wait to go back into this world. And it seems like a ton of people agree with me. You thought Squid Game was the biggest Netflix show? No, this show topped it. An animated show topped it. Seeing animated work that is of this quality and seeing everybody fall in love with it is unreal. Now, the worst kinds of experiences that can happen to me, right? When I, an animation fan and animator, am told that animation is for children. And I've had animation coworkers and friends tell me they've experienced this as well. And I feel that this is another great step forward for animation. From animation being more accepted to anime becoming more mainstream as well, leading to the understanding that yes, plenty of countries create cool shit. And so I am excited for the future of animation, and I cannot wait to see what it looks like. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video. Make sure to check out Interstellar Ranger Commence. The trailer is in the link in the description. It's an animated series I'm making. It's taken a lot of time, so I hope you enjoy it. It comes out April 2nd, 2022. And thank you so much, Lack of Creativity, for this fan art of she and the Mandalorian. It's pretty cool, very fancy, very snazzy. Also, make sure to get some merch on the Crowdmade store. There's a lot of stuff there. And thank you so much, patrons, for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, thanks so much Extra for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check them out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you come back to the table.